Welcome to another Gene Key Contemplation with Sarah D. Flo. That's me. We're going to dive into Gene Key 60. The shadow is limitation. The gift is realism. And the Siddhi is justice. Before we dive in, though, I wanted to zoom back a little bit, share you a little personal story, and maybe give you a little bit more taste of the Gene Keys and other ways of working with them if you're new. First off, you can get your free profile and learn about your unique shadows, gifts, and siddhis by going to the Gene Keys website, and you'll get a hologenetic profile. Just put in your birthday and be prepared to be amazed, but also be prepared to go deep into your unconscious. This is a journey that you are best to know that you are entering into as consciously as possible. It's like, are you taking the red pill or the blue pill? You can't turn back. And then the Gene Keys also has what's known as the golden pathway. And this takes you on a journey into the depths of who you are. First of all, by going through the activation sequence and getting to see what your life's work is, and your evolution sphere, which is what you're here to learn, and your radiant sphere, which is what keeps you healthy, and then your purpose. And then you go into what's known as the Venus sequence. And this is all about opening your heart, and it's about journeying back to your core wound, your sacred wound, as it's called. And if you're human, you're born with a wound. And again, this journey of going back is to realize that it's not personal. And there's so many layers to this. And I am currently diving into the Venus sequence for the second time. And I am at the end of this sequence, which finishes with the core wound, which is an amazing synchronicity because the current sun transit that we're going to be discussing today, the 60th Gene Key, happens to be the programming partner of my Gene Key in my core wound, Gene Key 56. And as I've shared in previous contemplations, and if you're not new to the Gene Keys, you know that every Gene Key has a programming partner, which is an opposite. Until you get to the Siddhic level and there are no more opposites, they all work together. But the programming partner is working in a way with the shadow to keep you in a loop and to keep you stuck in the shadow victim states. So in this case, the shadow of limitation pairs with Gene Key 56, which is the shadow of distraction. And so the distraction and the limitation keep us victims in these shadow frequencies. So I know this one really well. And it's funny because as I was reading and contemplating this Gene Key before recording today, I was thinking, wow, this feels so much like me. And it didn't occur to me until I opened up the Gene Keys book and realized, oh my gosh, it's the programming partner of the sphere I'm contemplating right now in my own personal journey. And I've had some amazing realizations, and I'm also feeling a little bit under the weather, which isn't surprising. I did travel, if you've followed my contemplations the past weeks. I was out of town. I was actually traveling back to my hometown, which is also an amazing synchronicity as I've been doing this deeper lineage work and going back to my roots. And the audio of this Gene Key, actually, Richard Rudd speaks of the Venus sequence and how, the patterns are laid down first at the spiritual level and the emotional level and the physical level. And I do believe that this sore throat and cough that I've been feeling the last couple of days is not a result of what I picked up on the plane, but it's a result of me consciously journeying into the core of my Venus sequence, which I'd love to hear from you if you've been doing your Venus sequence or doing any of the golden pathways. Have you been experiencing any physical ailments along the way? I'm sure I'm not alone. In fact, I've talked to many people who, especially working at the core wound, have had some significant stuff come up. So there's a little glimpse into, other aspects of working with the Gene Keys. So let's dive back into Gene Key 60. The shadow here of limitation, really the dilemma is balance. Because of course, as humans, we are always going to be limited in some way. We have these physical bodies. And at the shadow level, which again I've mentioned is the victim consciousness, it's all about our attitude of these limitations. So we feel like this sense of lack, or we feel resentment towards these limitations and restrictions, and perhaps we live our life completely out of balance. And at the gift level, it's an attitude shift where we understand and we appreciate the limitations, and then are able to work with them and understand why they're there and how they're part of our transformation and even our creativity. So the personal realization that I've been having is first of all, going years back, my sort of frustration with the limitations of being human and being on the earth and feeling safe on the earth and feeling safe to express myself and my ideas, or not feeling heard. And so wanting to get up and out, like wanting to, very much into the whole starseed species, and there's got to be more to this human existence, and all the judgments that I would have placed on the earth and being human. And any sort of judgment is a shadow frequency. And the journey that I've been on over the number of years is to start to appreciate the human body and the enrichment. That's the gift of the programming partner, is when I got real with, what it means to be human and the beauty of this earth and the beauty of our journey and what our journey is all about. Then I was able to embrace the enrichment. And that's just been working deeper and deeper these past weeks for me. So realism is about getting real with the fact that, that we do have limitations, but we're no longer victims to the structures that we have put in place from a shadow frequency. And, we're looking at our world right now, and our world has all these structures that have been created from the mind, which are really limited. And as we journey into ourselves deeper, we go into the deeper layers of our programming, into the DNA, which is, what these golden pathways, the golden pathway, the gene keys, shamanic traditions, and other cultures are all about, this understanding of this hero's journey of going on our own path and really learning about who we are, why we're here. The realism speaks to this balance of acceptance of our limitations, but not being bound by the structures and the stories and the beliefs we tell ourselves about what it means to be human. And then, of course, at the Siddhic level, the highest level of expression, justice, it's not about what we might think of the word justice. We tend to think of this word justice as retribution, as Richard Rudd states in the audio of this gene key, but I'm just going to quote him. It's not a retribution, justice. It's a reward, and it's given as grace. And when it is given, freedom flows from it. So I think at the shadow level, when we hear the word justice, we might think of some kind of punishment. And we can think of, at the shadow level as victims that we're going through life, and it's very personal, and we're being punished, and why is this happening to me? But as we start to understand the human journey and why we're here, to explore consciousness and to evolve and expand, and to really mine our DNA for light. I love that Richard Rudd speaks of the junk DNA, or the non-coding DNA that scientists speak of. It's just junk, when in actuality more and more people are talking about this and proving this, and it's not so out there as it once was, that our DNA contains light. And when we remove the density or the wounds and the traumas that have accumulated over generations, then this light is able to burst through and shine in our life. And as all these sacred traditions teach that everything starts from within. As within, so without. As above, so below. And all the cities are really about the ability to clear our human vessels to be this expression of divine light. And this justice speaks to this grace. He's I'm going to read this quote too, because feels so pertinent to the times that we're in right now. It doesn't come around often. It may come in great turning points in our evolutionary history. It may precipitate major changes in the structure of our life, or we can see it as that life structures transmute, so the Siddhi comes into the world as a byproduct. So many people are starting to shine a light on what's real and what's an illusion. And so many of the structures that have been created from the mind are beginning to collapse under so much light and so much truth. And the grace, the justice, offering grace and freedom that will result as these systems crumble. And of course, new systems and structures will emerge. And if they emerge with this understanding that structures can only take us so far, but then eventually we do need to transcend them. And I love how Richard Rudd even speaks to the gene key system itself, the gene keys and the profile. If you're looking at them with just your mind and you're sort of worried about if you're understanding it or whatever, you'll get stuck and you'll miss the point of the living wisdom that is within us, in our DNA, which is all around us. And to understand that, structures only take us so far, and then we transcend them. And our human body is a limitation. It is a structure that we one day will also transcend. And getting real with that, embracing our mortality and embracing life and understanding life, what's real about life, through getting real with the death of these physical beings, these physical bodies. And I'll finish with this. I love that Richard Rudd speaks about, in our DNA, and again, so many more people are talking about what our DNA truly is, and that it is like a recording device for our lineage, for our ancestors, but also going forward into the future. And as we bring and allow more light to shine through, we're transmuting the old programming, our ancestors that were making decisions based off of fear or lack. But also in our DNA are the ancestors who have chosen the path of love and courage. And we can tap into that memory when we're going through challenges and feel that support that is always there for us. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of these themes. Are you experiencing limitation? And are you able to trust whatever limitation is surfacing for you, that it is providing you with some kind of potential for enrichment? Share whatever else you feel called to share, and I'll see you in the next video.